Hey, fitness fans, welcome back. Eric Malzone with the Future of Fitness podcast, and this is episode number 26. And I talked to Acea Theroux. So Acea's been in the game for a long time, over 20 years. He's been a fitness instructor, of course. He's a presenter, an educator. He works in multiple modalities. So let's see, he's got Plyo Power for sports-specific training, TRX, and he also talks about his Zumba story, which I thought was really interesting. It's also the way he met his wife. So listen and enjoy that. His message is very clear, and I really respect it, and I think it's something that the industry really needs to hear as well. And it's essentially train smarter, right? I mean, he loved it so much, the guy went as far as tattooing it on his chest. So show me dedication higher than that. He really talks about what he coins the watering down of education within the fitness industry and overall just the devaluing of the fitness professional, which I think is something that's really important and how we can all learn from that and really making sure that we're constantly pursuing new education and realizing that, there's a wealth of information out there and we just need to go out and seek it, and it never ends, right? The search never ends. So I hope you enjoyed it. He's a great guy, and I really enjoyed our conversation. I learned quite a bit too. So before we get on to that, let's just talk about our sponsor, which is us. It's Fitness Marketing Alliance. And if you are a modern day digital fitness professional, I have a question for you. How do you know if all of your digital marketing efforts are actually working? Pause. Well, now I can show you how. So if you go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/DIY, and I give you this promo code, which I'll give you here in a second, you can sign up for our digital dashboard, and it'll show you everything from where your website's traffic is coming from, how much you're getting, how your social media outlets are doing, what your competition is up to, and how you can take advantage of their activities, and a wealth of information. And the number one thing is that it is an assessment. So how do you, just like fitness, how do you know if things are working if you're not assessing? So go on there, check it out. If you enter the promo code FMADIY, you will be able to waive the $250 setup fee. So that's just for listeners in the podcast. And so get to it, fitnessmarketingalliance.com/DIY and promo code FMADIY and get control of it. Check it out. And if you have any questions, let me know. Eric@fitnessmarketingalliance.com. So on to the interview, Acea Theroux. Hey everybody, this is Eric with the Future of Fitness podcast, and today I have the extreme pleasure of sitting down with Acea Theroux. And welcome, Acea. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure. So you're out in Boston, so we're about 3,000 miles away, and this is the beauty of technology. We're going to get into some pretty cool topics here, but if you could just people could find you online. I'll do an intro with your background and all that, but just give people maybe a quick synopsis of everything you've done in the fitness industry and kind of where you are right now.
Well, I think I made the typical athlete to trainer transition that a lot of people do. I went to school for athletics, figured out I wasn't going pro, and then hit the books. After that, did the trainer thing for a while, moved to New York, and probably learned the most from there. We had a team of 70 trainers, and it was just an amazing experience to live in Manhattan and personal train 70 people a week and stuff like that. It was nuts.
Wow.
So I really got thrown in the mix there early. From there, I got kind of burnt out. Every trainer has a burnout phase in their life, I think, in some capacity. And I hit mine after that and went and taught phys ed down in Florida at a private school. Taught phys ed and then coached soccer and basketball. And then I really missed fitness. And so I headed back up north. And from there, I worked in the city of Boston for a while, just personal training, and then going up fitness management, fitness manager, group X director, program manager, the whole 9 yards. And I started getting a taste of education. And I met a lady at the Boston Athletic Club, one of our fitness icons. And if you can ever get her on the show, it'll be a fantastic show. Her name is Josie Gardner. She's been in the industry. I mean, she's probably coming up on plus 40, maybe 50 years in the industry. So she's one of the original Reebok master trainers. And I took over a Group X program, and she was an instructor there and been teaching there for like 25 years. And it was just an absolute, like, amazing wealth of knowledge, you know, and I saw that and I latched onto her. And so she kind of took me under her wing, and I had a program that I was developing. I developed it right out of college called Plyo Power. And Plyo Power's theory in general was, long story short, I wanted to remain an athlete. I played athletics and started lifting and training, and all of a sudden I felt like I lost my athleticism within a very short time because I wasn't playing athletics anymore. So I wanted to develop a program that could keep me an athlete, but I didn't have to do plyometrics, full-on plyometrics. So it started off as like endurance-type plyometrics, and then it transformed itself as I got educated into what it is now, which is the theory of training smarter, not harder. So she really helped me with that, helped me with the study guide, and as she helped me with that, she got me a couple presenting opportunities, and I kind of entered the field that way, you know, and again, from there, I started really liking presenting at conferences and teaching education, and once my program got CEU approved, and I was kind of off and running, and from there I met a gentleman, I went to school with a gentleman who said, man, you got to check out TRX. He's like, and I was in the middle of like writing my next volume for my program, and I was like, you know what? I put it aside, and I was like, what better way to make your program better than to learn from people that are already approved, already, you know, in the industry and have their programs and they're successful. So I'm like, don't reinvent the wheel, you know. So I had gotten away from education for a little while, working on mine, and you know, I went and took this TRX training, and I was blown away. You know, there were similar theories and methodologies to the way I trained, but in a totally different way, totally different modality. And like I remember, I finished the training. I had never touched one before when I took the training. I finished the training. I ran over to the guy that taught the training, and I was like, "How do I do what you do? I want to teach the course. How do I do what you do?" And typical overeager fitness professional. He's like, "Well, use it for a while." I was like, "Use it. That's a good idea. I'll use it." So I like basically trained with it for 8 weeks. You know, threw the weights down. Something that I love, picking up heavy stuff and putting it back down. So that was a difficult process for me. I just used the straps, and I saw huge, huge changes in my body perception, my body changing. And if they thought I was annoying before I started, like emailing and calling them to try and be a presenter and educator for them, after those 8 weeks, I became relentless until they invited me to an ITC, Instructor Training course, to try to become one of their instructors. And that was 2011, beginning of 2011. And so I've been with TRX for a little over 6 years. And I absolutely love it. I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else.
Awesome. So
in the middle there, I took one little twist I think we talked about that was a huge impact on my life and on my theories of fitness in general. Josie Gardner was the one, she kept asking me to go take a Zumba class.
Oh, I love this.
And I was like, and so I fought it, and because I'm not a dancer. I'm an athlete. I've never done anything choreography before. I pick up heavy stuff. I put it back down. Let's just keep it at that. And then she got smart, inviting me to a charity event. I couldn't say no to that, or that's just selfish. So from there, you know, I went to this event, and I sat in the back, just doing a little 2-step shuffle. And I look around, an hour and a half into this 3-hour event, everybody's smiling and laughing and moving dynamically. And I was like, this is like the definition of wellness. And I was like, ah, crap, I got to get involved. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that. But I was like, so I went kicking and screaming to the training. I didn't want to. Took the training, still had no idea what I wanted to do. Hid in my basement for 2 months, practiced those moves. Finally felt like I had a good handle on the salsa and cumbia, merengue, and reggaeton. And I went out and I looked up instructors that had a dance background because I had never taught dance. I had never done any choreography. So I looked up this lady online, and she had a heavy dance background, ballet, tap, jazz when she was little, and she's been dancing her whole life. And I thought, this is a good way to start. Went to her class, finished it, and I felt successful. You know, she's one of those people that actually taught and wasn't just out there dancing, cued the whole 9 yards. And like I told you before, so I married her. And You know, it was like she was a wealth of knowledge, you know, when it came to dance. And I was like, I got a lot to learn from this woman. So I followed her around from the club, not like a stalker or anything, but I followed her around, and she gave me some great tips and great advice. And within a couple of months, something just clicked in my head. And I had a dance rhythm inside me I did not know was there. And I started getting into dance heavy. And I told a friend of mine, a colleague, that, you know, I was going to try to become an educator for Zumba. And they gave me the, you know how good of a dancer you have to be to do that. And so, like, that's just all my mind needs. I'm an all or nothing person. So my mind was set. I was like, I'll do this. I'll give myself 5 years, but I will be an educator. And it happened in 2. So I ended up being I tell my buddies still make fun of me this in high school, but, you know, I say, you know, 6 years ago, if somebody told me I'd be teaching dance, education courses for dance, I told you absolutely crazy, you know. But it's just that experience in itself, and sitting in that extremely uncomfortable state and fear of not knowing what I was doing and feeling awkward with what I was doing, was one of the most difficult challenges I've had, you know. And it's that stuff usually we shy away from or get away from, because we're scared and we feel fear, and well, I don't want to feel that, you know. But you sit there and you break through it. It's the most gratifying thing you'll ever feel in your life.
Right.
So anyway, that wasn't quick at all, but so now fast forward, I left Zumba about 2.5 years ago when my wife and I had our baby, and they're pulling up right now, and so I started to once we got a good rhythm here, I had a company that called me about 6 months ago, and called Reaxing, and it's a European company.
How do you spell that?
Their theory is, you know, train your senses to improve your performance, you know, train the unpredictable. And I really liked what they had to say. And, you know, I'm headed over to Italy in a couple of weeks to do their training to become one of their master instructors. And yeah, that's about it as a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, going from, I know you did physique competitions all the way to TRX to Zumba to, you know, some new technology. You've covered a lot of ground, man. You've covered a lot of ground. That's for sure.
It's made me a more diverse trainer. You know, it's made me better in the long run. It's kept me a student for life. You know, making sure that you give every program a shot, you know, no matter what it is.
Right. You know, it's interesting because I would presume, you know, especially male trainers, right, would have a certain resistance to doing Zumba. You know, what is it like? What are things that people don't know about Zumba that you think they should know? And this is talking to fitness professionals, not the general population.
About Zumba, I think one of the main things, it's very much, it's instructor driven, you know, and it's depending upon who you have as an instructor is really what the class is going to be like. And it's, you know, there's a wide variety of teachers. Now, the unfortunate part is that you can take an 8-hour training and now you're an instructor, and you can have no fitness background, no dance background, no anything. And so I think in some cases it can get a bad rap, you know, because there are a lot of people aren't prepared enough. And on the flip side of that, Zumba has other educational courses like Pro Skills and things like that improve you as an instructor. And through that, they encourage you to go get trained and get certified in Group X and all the stuff you need. But they don't want to deny someone the experience of Zumba and becoming part of that world team. You know, and so that's something I definitely do believe in. On the other end of it, it's the quality control is difficult. You know, and I think now it's gotten so big that fitness professionals are moving away from it. And that because there's so many more people who take the class that just want to be instructors now, that you're overwhelmed. And this is my experience as an educator for them as well. You're overwhelmed with people that are coming to training that have no experience whatsoever in fitness. And so you have to change your teaching style, you know, and really just make sure that they're getting the concept and it's going to be safe, you know, and make sure they understand they need to follow up with the educational piece. But
Yeah.
So that's the tough part.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about education, because I know it's a very, obviously it's a huge deal, but I know in particular to you, there's some certain points about it that you are passionate about. How do you see the world of education right now in the fitness industry, as far as, the average fitness professional, and where would you like to see it go?
Well, I mean, there's good in there's a lot of good. There's a lot of on the kind of the bad slide as well. And you know, I try to really keep it in a positive light, And when I talk about TRX, they made a very, very bold step when they made a very bold step when they took a step back about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, instead of doing this harder, instead of making this the hardest workout ever and this and that, or getting complicated with the programming, what they did is they said, we're going to do this right instead. What does right look like? What does right feel like? We're going to train smarter. And whenever they mentioned the training smarter concept, I remember looking at me and pointing at me and be like, yeah, we know you're already invested before. Next, I have a training smarter tattoo right across my chest.
Wow.
And I've had it for 10 years, and it's just my theory, and that was a bold move by them to say, instead of coming up with this complex choreo or all of these other new programs, let's just take what we do right now and what we do, and let's do it better. How do we get better? And so that brought me into TRX even more than I already was.
Cool.
The back end, the backslide on what I see in the educational world sometimes right now is the toughest part is, and we talked about this before, you see people come to a suspension training course, a TRX suspension training course. They're a manager of a facility, they're an owner of a facility. They then take that back to their club, and they then take what we taught them and what we spent hours and days and days and days of getting drilled on how to teach this the correct way by our top educators. They take what we taught them and then they teach it to their staff, which is then again like a watered down version of what we gave them. And then the trainers go and then or instructors and go teach classes and participants and train clients with what they learned from somebody who took the course from somebody else, you know what I mean? And it's so the product and what's getting out there right now, sometimes I think a lot is getting lost in translation. And I think this is something in the industry that's happening too often now. And I don't know how we, the one thing about Zumba, not one thing, but one of the things about Zumba I do really like is that you don't mess with their trademark. You do not teach unless you're licensed. And if you do, the legal team will find you. They have websites that's like partycrashers.com, this and that, and they stay true to somebody who took the program. They will be teaching, and not taught to teach someone else, and then they're just going to teach it. If that's happening, they're going to find out. Not all companies have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
But so I see that as a major problem right now in our industry.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, me coming from owning a CrossFit affiliate, they have a legal team that is notorious, right? But they're more focused on the trademark. That's what they want. Like, they don't want you using it inappropriately on a website or domain names, things like that. I've run into them a couple times. Needless to say, I did not win that battle. But on the training side, they're not as sticklers. You can literally, as long as someone in the building has that certification, you're right. It's curious because I want to bring up a point, because maybe it's more even one layer deeper systemically in the fact of how we value society, we value trainers. We as a whole, as an industry, we tend to undervalue ourselves quite a bit, right? We don't charge enough.
Yeah.
We're not seen as really the first step in preventative healthcare like we should be within the whole system, right? So trainers don't get paid as much. They can't afford the good certifications. Maybe they're making $18 an hour, so the gym owner has to go out and, he's the only one or she's the only one who can afford the certification, and then they have to come back and teach it, and therefore you get the whole telephone effect that you're talking about, right? With the paper cups, and every time the message comes through on somebody else, it's different, and it's, it's watered down, which is a great way to put it. So it's an interesting conversation. Is like the whole thing needs to be stepped up, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much working against us in terms of the fitness industry. I mean, you have, a franchise like Planet Fitness, which, in general, I tip my hat to them. They are helping some people, absolutely. They found a market, but then they go with a tagline that says their personal come here and train for free. Train for free. Like that devalues all personal trainers in general.
Right.
And all fitness in general, saying it's a free service whenever somebody else tries, I can go there, I can get it free. Right. But what they're getting is, you don't know what they're getting.
Yeah.
In terms of the service. So that's, when you have that working against you too.
Yeah. If you could develop the perfect training system for coaches, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about what it would look like and what the education pieces would look like? What would that look like, and how long would it be, right? And what are the, if there's prerequisites?
The perfect education piece?
Yeah. If it was up to you, Asa, if it was, what would it?
If it was up to me.
Yeah. What would that look like?
I would need unlimited funds to do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of backers.
Can't help you there. Sorry.
Unfortunately, one of the reasons that my program, Plyo Power, didn't really take off, I've had investors this was like 8-10 years ago, who were interested. They liked the concept. They saw me at trade shows. They saw me at conferences, and I turned down pretty big offers to buy the program, or at least get the program up and running. Talking 6-figure turn downs, because every one of them wanted me to get rid of the testing protocol. And I said, mentally, I can't sleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, because my program's based on athletic movements. So you're not doing plyometrics. You're actually doing just athletic movements for longer periods of time with shorter rest periods. And you're doing, leg movements followed by agility movements specifically, but you're focusing on form, but you're cutting the rest time, increasing the actual performance time of what you're doing in the movement. So if you do that at high intensity, that is the definition, and that's a math problem for an injury. And if I get rid of the testing protocol, how do I sleep at night? I can't.
Right.
So I think it's got to be broken down to you need a full weekend with someone, and you need the day before them getting all the materials, having them read it up the day of. You start testing them on what they've learned and practice things. You have them go home at night and then come back the next day, and they perform things again and test things out. And whoever has a good handle on it, you could have a testing protocol and test them out that day, but maybe you have them go home and practice with it for a while and really have that quality control. And then, they have 3 months to really get this work done, turn your video in, and, if they can't make a trip back out, say they flew in for something, and then, if they know the stuff or not, but the quality control out there. And again, one of the great things, and I know I keep going back to TRX, but because of what was going on with what we saw in a lot of trainings, and they made a certification. Certifications are not easy. They cost a ton of money. Say this is a certification, not a license and not a qualification. But they made a 2-day certification where they test people out now. And again, so yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, because I don't think people understand what it costs to call something a certification on like a yearly basis too. It's crazy. Those are all of our accredited agencies right there that not only approve that, but there's so much more that goes into it. They just think it's a really high price, and they're trying to overcharge them.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I got a good portion of my training education through OPT, which is now OPEX. And, they have, and they're also a client in full disclosure, but they have 5 modules, which are each 2 days, I believe 2 to 3 days for each one. And at the end of it, you have to do a case study, which could take up to months to finish, and then submit. And then you get the license for the level 1. And I'm like, wow, it's intensive, and you have to work for it. You have to want it, because, and it's great. It's great to see that. I just haven't seen it in too many. It sounds like TRX is really stepping up their game, And is there any other players out there in the fitness education field that you think people should be paying attention to and looking at?
Well, I mean, when it comes to personal training, I mean, again, I would say I'm biased because I've been with NASM I changed programs through NASM. I mean, this was a funny story. I was about 45 pounds heavier than I am now. I had severe lower back pain. This was, how many years ago was it now? It was probably 13, 14 years ago. That's how long I've been with NASM. And I either had to double my cardio or I had to get really strict with my eating. And for me to actually take off any weight. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've been in the industry for 8 so years. Why is this hard for me to do? And so I reached out to a friend of mine and, which was hard, and actually that was right at the time I just won Best of Boston. So my ego was like, this. So who wants to ask for help when you're in the industry and you just, but I was in pain, and so I asked a friend for help. They recommended somebody else. They weren't available. And so I sit down with this kid fresh out of school. He had been training for 6 weeks and he schooled me in personal training in 30 minutes. And I sat there with a dumbfounded look on my face, brought me through a movement assessment, which made me feel like a caveman standing up for the first time. I was so tight everywhere. Yeah. And, started talking about strong muscles and weak muscles and tight muscles and the whole 9 yards. And he gave me 2 stretching drills and 2 foam rolling drills that progressed to. And, within 6 weeks, my clients are approaching me going, what have you been doing? And it wasn't that my body was changing. I was smiling. I was not pain. Yeah. So I remember asking the guy and going, who are you certified through? Because the stuff he was saying, it wasn't that I didn't understand what he was saying. I just hadn't heard that approach before. It wasn't the mainstream, Right. And so he's like National Academy of Sports Medicine. And back then, my couple of buddies and myself, we used to call him the Nazi Association of Stretching Maniacs. True story. And now I live and breathe it. But it really was. There was a lot of stretching and then rolling on this thing. And everybody's like, what are they doing? But, so after my body, I got out of pain and I started feeling better. I went and I started studying. I started certified through them. And then, my body just I stretched the tight muscles. I activated the weak ones. And my body just started getting leaner and leaner and leaner. And I call my metabolism like that fire that you throw dry wood on. It just started working together. So NASM, the reason I really like them and I promote them is that when you take the training, when you take the certification, they prepare you. It's like they give you a blueprint. You can train anybody. Right. It's like when you finish with them, literally, you can train a senior, you can train a kid, you can train an athlete, you can train anybody. And a lot of times when you finish these trainings and stuff, you kind of hey, I have all this knowledge. What do I do with it now? Yeah. So I love their movement assessment. I like theirs. I do a combination of theirs and FMS as well. So I do a kind of a combination of both. I think they both have great points on both of them. So I do a little, and so I'm waiting for somebody to come out with the version that kind of I do. And I just don't have time to do it right now, but come out with a version that kind of blends the two together. But I love, NASM is fantastic. I talk about movement assessments a lot in my trainings, and I ask, I always ask for a show of hands, who does movement assessments, and there are times I'll get half the class, there are times I'll get one, and I'm like, how do we train someone when we don't know how they move? How do we train someone when we don't know what's going on with their body? We just give them a program because of what their goals are. Because of what happened to me and how I keep going through NASM, it's changed my outlook and my process of how I train my clients and I train myself. So, to me now, it seems nuts to train someone without a plan like that, really knowing that movement dysfunction and postural disorders, that's our normal now, which is sad. Yeah. That's reactionary for us, unfortunately, is moving with dysfunction. That's reactionary. We got to figure out a way to change that. Yeah, I agree. And it's all this is such great conversation and really important for just the overall professionalization, if that's even a word, of the fitness industry, right? How if you really want to make a living for
10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years as a trainer or training trainers, you have to really get the systems in place. And this conversation needs to be had because it's, it's systemic. So I applaud you for bringing it up, and I hope you continue to, and I'm sure you will push the topic, when the opportunities arise. Acea, thank you. How do people find you? If people want to talk to you or get your guidance and or just chat, where do they find you?
I think social media has just taken over everything. I don't use my website hardly at all anymore. So it's like, they can find me on Facebook under my name. So Acea Theroux, and then it has Health Educator next to it. My Instagram is Training Smarter.
Okay.
So, but I always encourage people to if they're a trainer, if they're in the fitness industry, and I tell people this when I finish my trainings all the time. I'm like, friend me on Facebook through my professional name. This is the best way we can stay together. We can learn, new ideas, new concepts. We can share these things. I can't tell you how many people that have messaged me after a training, and you become Facebook friends. But then at the same time, I'll have colleagues of mine that, hey, if you know anybody in this area, I'm looking for a trainer, and you hook them up. People don't realize how fast you make a connection like that. This isn't just, hey, be my Facebook friend. This isn't, this is such a powerful tool that we need to be able to share our ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
And use it.
Yeah, I use it all the time, especially, being a digital marketer. It's my bread and butter, baby. So thank you, Acea. It's been a pleasure, man. I know you and I will be talking, and hopefully I can get you back on for a future episode, because I feel like we have a lot of different topics we could.
Oh yeah, I could talk all day.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Enjoy the fall in Boston, and we'll touch base soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Future of Fitness podcast and webinar series. We're working really hard here to keep great content coming out, and we'd like to express our gratitude by offering you a free 7-day marketing crash course. So here's how you can claim it. If you go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/free gift, FREEGIFT, and you enter the promo code FITMARK, FITMARK, you can claim it that way. The other way is you can text us. So you can text the phone number 805-619-5550, and you text the word FITMARK, FITMARK. So thank you. Keep listening. Go claim that offer. It's a ton of value. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, or if you have suggestions for guests, topics, or anything else, or if you just want to ask me questions, I always respond. You can reach me at Eric, ERIC, at fitnessmarketingalliance.com. And keep listening. We have a lot more coming down the pipe, and we'll make sure that we're keeping the value great for you guys. And farewell till next time.